And now in studio, we have Dan Perry, International Affairs Analyst. Dan, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
So over the last few hours, the Knesset passed this law requiring the death penalty for Palestinian terrorists, but not for Jewish terrorists. It's getting a lot of criticism in Israel, especially overseas. How do you see it?
It's an abomination, and it's not for nothing that almost every senior legal and security expert was against it, because the type of terrorism that Israel faces is often suicide terrorism that invites death. And in general, Israel's enemies have a cult of fanatical martyrdom. And we almost see this also in the Iran conflict, where it looks like no matter how many of them you kill, they're just not wired to surrender. And it's a real problem. Now, beyond that, it'll create a tit-for-tat kidnapping of Israeli soldiers and killing Israeli soldiers and Israeli citizens. You can pretty much see that coming. And it is Israel, again, taking a step back from the democratic world that has basically walked away from the death penalty in general because it is deemed inhumane and irreversible in the case of mistakes. It's also clearly going to be overruled by the Supreme Court because of inequality under the law.
And that's where I want to go. There are many, many Israelis, probably a majority of the public, that doesn't have faith in the legal system and that sees this as a way to put their stamp on a legal system that they think is too permissive of Palestinian terrorists, of rights of Palestinian prisoners as the legal system sees it. Can't you understand why it is that some Israelis support a law like this, given those circumstances?
Of course. People hate terrorism, and they hate terrorists, and it's easy to rile them up against terrorists.
But it's not about the terrorists,
I can tell you something else. Every poll showed, until about 2015, 2016, when Netanyahu's legal troubles began and his agitation against the police, the prosecutors, and the judges began, the Supreme Court had the second highest approval level of any institution, second only to the military in the public at large. Netanyahu's been inciting against them, a little bit like right-wing populists of late have been doing all around the world, and obviously our support has fallen somewhat. Now, since we know that this law is unequal, if not racist, and it will be almost surely annulled by the Supreme Court, why are they doing it anyway? Precisely for that reason. That is a feature and not a bug. They want the Supreme Court to annul it so they can continue agitating against the court, presenting it as soft on terrorism. And it's a win-win for them because they're going to go to elections with the idea that they're fighting against the courts, any opposition that's soft on terror. And if the government should be replaced by moderates in the next election, which polls suggest is the case, it'll be very difficult for them to repeal this law, because if they do, then the Netanyahu coalition, then in opposition, will portray them as soft on terror. It is pure populism. And by the way, the reputational damage that this does to Israel is clear at a time when Israel's support is cratering, not only in Europe, but in the United States. And one watches with stupefaction as the coalition and Netanyahu himself seem indifferent to all this. In fact, it sort of serves their us versus them pathology, which they seem to think will serve them well with their base. It's really a disgrace.
Now, no question that the legal system is going to be a huge issue going forward in Israeli politics with this law and plenty of others in the background.
Look, do you see with the threats coming from European countries, if this passes, they might take steps against Israel. Do you see this actually leading to anything tangible against Israel coming from the international community, specifically from European countries such as Germany or France who are threatening?
It's obviously possible. Israel's been flirting with various forms of sanctions and efforts to remove it from various EU programs, including technological collaboration programs that Israel needs and benefits from. The world benefits from it. It's a win-win, and Israel's constantly flirting with a diminishment of its status in the European Union, which is Israel's #1 trading partner. Again, to be indifferent to this and to almost welcome it as a chance to once again dump on the Europeans, basically, for populist political reasons, because it's a little bit popular here, as in the U.S., is stunning indifference to what is actually good for the country. It's, as I've said in a different context, as if the government is involved in a conspiracy against the state of Israel. Mm-hmm.